Kash Patel has actually done it, and it is humiliating. All this time, we are always expecting the worst from Donald Trump's own administration officials. And then, they do it. And I don't want to say we're surprised, but we are certainly always disgusted. And that is what I am tonight, as Kash Patel makes another fatal error in this Epstein cover-up that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Kash Patel's latest move to humiliate Donald Trump and expose this administration's criminal cover-up, we have to start with the clip that is the most telling, and what Kash Patel wants us to perceive is happening at the FBI right now as it relates to Epstein. And it comes right here. A question asked by a Republican senator. Mind you,
Epstein trafficked these young women too, besides himself.
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
It has always been the goal of this administration to get us to think, certainly after they were elected and no longer wanted to use the political pawn. At least, that's how they view it of Jeffrey Epstein. It was always their goal to get us to think that this was a smaller operation rather than a larger one. That this was just Epstein and Maxwell was there, maybe pushing some papers around. But it was just one guy. That's it. It's not true. This is a criminal cabal, and that's how it needed to be investigated. But Kash Patel never really cared to do so. In fact, Kash Patel never really cared to do anything except abuse the power of his office to hang out with his probably Mossad agent girlfriend. As Chris Hayes broke down right here, it's very important context for the move he just made, considering his corruption is rampant.
Obsessed with cleaning up the deep state, slashing government spending, he had one specific idea about how to do it.
Chris Wray doesn't need a government-funded G5 jet to go to vacation. Maybe we ground that plane. $15,000 every time it takes off. Just a thought.
Go take their money. Chris Wray doesn't need a private jet.
We're not the guys running around on private jets. And somebody maybe in Congress should ask for how many flights on a private jet Director Comey took, or my predecessor Director Wray took, and how many personal trips they took.
Don't knock it until you try it. That's what I say about private jets. The use of government jets for personal travel by former FBI director was sort of an obsession of Patel's for years. In 2023, Patel called former director Chris Wray a, quote, government gangster for his jet usage, which is why it was surprising to see Patel repost this photo on Sunday of him in his FBI-branded hoodie out on a date with his country singer girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. Now, Wilkins was performing at a Penn State sporting event on Saturday. And if you're wondering how Kash Patel got there to support her, well, public flight logs show he took a taxpayer-funded government jet. Later that night, that same jet flew from Pennsylvania to Nashville, where Patel's girlfriend lives. Now, I should note, FBI directors are required by law to use government planes for security purposes. It's a point Patel raised in May when Senate Democrats last inquired about his jet usage.
Oh, this is a great point. Do you know why I have to use a private jet? Because Congress made it mandatory.
Okay. In April 5th, well, we didn't make it mandatory that you go to UFC games with Mel Gibson.
Are you telling me I can't go home?
You got to use some judgment here.
I love the logic there. I had to go to the event. So what, I'm supposed to stay there? Well, you don't have to go to every event. Patel's lack of judgment when using a taxpayer-funded plane for private excursions during a government shutdown on the eve of SNAP benefits running out is really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have seen members of the Trump administration taking advantage of government perks.
So Kash Patel said that he was going to come into the FBI building, that he was going to crack the whip, that there would be no more political investigations, that we're finally going to get to work with the American people. And when? And no, actually, that didn't happen. He was flying on private jets, going to his girlfriend's bad concerts, a lot of UFC fights, a lot of wasted time, lot of corruption. No surprise. The same guy telling us you don't need to worry about Epstein because it's just one guy. And we've got that all checked out, which, by the way, is a lie, of course, is not going to work to actually root out the pedophile ring, the thing he would always talk about on his podcast. Well, this is not just the only example of KASH Patel not wanting to do his job. His latest move, which he's been teasing for a while, is another time in which KASH is telling us he just doesn't want to do his job. And his job is not to actually go after the pedophiles that Donald Trump loves, but is to protect them. It seems. KASH Patel says FBI closing the Hoover Building, which he once promised to make a deep state museum. FBI Director KASH Patel announced Friday that the FBI would be closing the J. Edgar Hoover Building in Washington, D.C. permanently, after once promising to turn it into a deep state museum. Patel wrote on Twitter, "After more than 20 years of failed attempts, we finalized a plan to permanently close the FBI's Hoover headquarters and move the workforce into a safe, modern facility. Working directly with Donald Trump and Congress, we accomplished what no one else could. Planning for the building named after the first director in 1962, and it was formally dedicated by President Gerald Ford in 1975. Details post continued when we arrived. Taxpayers were about to be on the hook for nearly $5 billion for a new headquarters that wouldn't open until 2035. We scrapped the plan. Instead, we selected the already existing Reagan building, saving billions and allowing the transition to begin immediately, with required safety and infrastructure upgrades already underway. Once complete, most of the HQ FBI workforce will move in, and the rest are continuing in our ongoing push to put major manpower in the field where they will remain. The decision puts resources where they belong, defending the homeland, crushing violent crime, and protecting national security. It delivers better tools for today's FBI workforce at a fraction of the cost." When he was still a podcaster before Donald Trump appointed him to the FBI, Patel claimed that the Bureau's footprint was too large. Patel, as of course, has been criticized for spending taxpayer money recklessly in other ways. This week, MSNBC reported that Patel ordered a fleet of 4 luxury armored BMWs to replace his previous motorcade. He also has come under fire for his joyrides on private jets. Okay, so KASH Patel wants to change where the FBI is working. What's the implication here? Why does this matter? Well, this is a guy who is fundamentally committed to one thing, and that is not working. He's not just moving people around, changing buildings, deciding he wants to be somewhere different. KASH Patel is trying to entirely reshape what the FBI does and who they serve. And in doing so, KASH Patel has also made it clear that the FBI works for Donald Trump, that they're his own private enforcement agency, and that they have to do whatever the whims of the president demand. And that often includes a lot of time spent redacting the Epstein files. Right now, there is a demand out to FBI agents to come in for millions of dollars of overtime that have already been paid out to redact 1 million Epstein documents that have newly been found. That is what is happening right now. So as KASH Patel talks about putting people out into the country, making sure that they're on the ground, boots on the ground. KASH Patel at the beginning of this video in that clip, saying that there were no co-conspirators, showed exactly where he wants to direct the resources of the FBI away from investigations that could potentially hurt Donald Trump. He is not actually interested in keeping us safe. That is something that we should know, that KASH Patel does not actually care about anything other than keeping his job and making sure that Donald Trump is happy. So him moving the building, and I don't know if he's going to do the Deep State Museum, but is another example of how Patel, who's not actually interested in saving money, is making sure that funds and attention is directed in a way that benefits Donald Trump and protects him and his pedo buddies. And it is another example as well of the hypocrisy that we see throughout this administration when it comes to spending. And someone who is no stranger to that is Kristi Noem, as Jen Psaki broke down right here.
Publica published quite a scoop about Trump DHS Secretary Kristi Noem that in any other era, I should say, would be a career-ending scandal. But to understand the pattern of corruption of this woman, we just have to zoom out just a little bit, just for a moment. Because since Noem took over DHS at the beginning of the year, she's become known for appearing to be more obsessed with putting on various costumes than doing her actual job. I mean, she donned a bulletproof vest just to talk to her own agents. She wore a Customs and Border Patrol uniform on Fox News. And of course, she is constantly, and I mean constantly, throwing on a cowboy hat and riding horses, always with plenty of cameras around to capture the moment. But Noem's apparent obsession with image actually goes much further than just putting on costumes, because she has directed more than 200 million taxpayer dollars into TV ads to promote her work at DHS. And just to put it in context, that is nearly twice what DHS spent on ads altogether in all of last year. And the content of those ads have already been a scandal kind of in and of themselves.
I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump, for securing our border.
And if you were wondering who exactly the target audience is for that, DHS spent $30,000 to run that ad, the one I just showed you, specifically in the ad market where Mar-a-Lago is. Now, as much as spending tens of thousands of dollars to make sure your ad plays on the TV near the president is a bizarre waste of taxpayer money, $30,000, it turns out, is a drop in the bucket compared to the more than $200 million DHS has spent this year making and airing ads. And the rest of that money is where the story gets truly bonkers. I mean, since March, we have known that DHS skipped the normal competitive bidding process when giving out the contracts to make and air these ads. DHS claimed that because Trump declared an emergency at the southern border, they didn't have to waste time getting competitive bids. And that brings me to the first part of ProPublica's big scoop, because it turns out that the majority of that no bid contract money, $143 million taxpayer dollars, went to this kind of mysterious LLC in Delaware, an LLC that was created just days before it got that no bid contract, just days. And the man who owns the home that LLC lists as its address did not respond to ProPublica's questions. Now, when asked why the agency chose that LLC, DHS said, quote, "The results speak for themselves," and then proceeded to claim that Trump has made the border the most secure it has been in American history. Not exactly answering the question. So DHS gave a $143 million no-bid contract to a brand new LLC that no one seems to know anything about.
The most corrupt administration in history. They can certainly be happy with holding that title and doing so in just the dumbest ways every single time. It is embarrassing that these people run our country. I know they're criminal. I know they're corrupt. But in all honesty, they're just embarrassing. And we're going to call them out on the show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.